Bienvenue, welcome to the United Nations of Horror. We're your host Mark, and I'm joined by Lucard and Becky. Hi guys.
Hey, it's been a while.
Hey,
It has indeed.
Yes, but we are coming back with a bang, right? We are talking horror films of the decade, 2010 to 2019. We're going to go through year by year what we think are our best horror movies of that year in our own personal opinions, right? So, you know, this isn't a best, this is favourites. That's how it is. So let's jump in. 2010, remember that? 2010. Right, okay. My best horror film, I think, for this year, for me, by far, was Black Swan. I really, really dug Black Swan. Any thoughts on that one, guys?
I have not seen it, but I have heard many good things. I have seen sort of the sequel to that, The Wrestler, which I hear is kind of in the same vein.
Black Swan's more horror. I mean, The Wrestler's a drama, but Black Swan is is fairly, well, I don't know, actually, horror. It's a giallo. It's a kind of giallo film, but a really good one. Have you seen it, Becky?
I haven't, no.
Oh, okay. I'm out on my own. I recommend it, guys. It's really good. And to carry on, my honourable favourites for this year were, I think this might be on both your lists, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil.
Ah, yes.
The Crazies, the remake, The Crazies I really liked. Let Me In, Insidious, and one you guys may not have caught, and it's not quite horror, it's more thriller with some weird elements in. It's a film called The Perfect Host, and it stars, you know, the guy that plays Niles from Frasier?
Yeah.
Him and Clayton Crawford, the guy that was on the really cool remake of TV series Lethal Weapon, who he got fired before he was famous. And basically a burglar gets into a house, and the host there, who's this prissy guy, kind of catches him, and weird stuff starts happening. I really like it. It's really good, and I don't think anyone's even seen it. It's one of those. So, Perfect Host. Anyway, that's my favourites and top 5. So, Lucard, what's yours?
Well, you mentioned it, Mark. It is actually Let Me In from 2010, which, man, that seems like a lifetime ago. But I love Let Me In. It's a great film. Very similar to the film it's made from, Let the Right One In, except, you know, just essentially an English version. Have you guys seen this one?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. I said it was on mine. Yeah. I prefer the Swedish original, but I quite like this remake of it. Actually, I quite like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of go back and forth between both versions. You know, I like some of the added stuff they put in the Hammer horror version, and then I also have a real appreciation for the original.
Yeah.
Becky, how about you?
I love the original. I haven't seen this one. I think I was put off by, is it Chloe Grace Moretz? Basically, Carrie, the film Carrie, kind of turned me, I think, off this one.
Yeah, she's better. She's better in this. I mean, sorry, I think she's pretty good in everything she does. But the Carrie was just an unfortunate version. But
yes.
It's better. This is a better film than Carrie, for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the Carrie remake. I believe, isn't she the same girl that plays the superhero girl in Kick-Ass?
Yeah, Hit Girl, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Hit Girl. Yeah. Couldn't remember the name. Yeah.
She's been in a few things, isn't she? Dark Shadows.
Yeah, and it's nothing against her. I think it's just because I just associated the films. So it's always kind of been on my radar, but I've never got to it.
Yeah. It's an interesting film. Have you got any honourable mentions, Lucard?
I do, as you mentioned, The Crazies. That is on my honorable mention as well, and we've talked about that at length pretty recently here, actually. Timothy Olyphant.
Yes, it's a good film. Quite an interesting. There were some really solid remakes late 2000s and early 2010s. Not so great, but this one was a solid one.
Yeah, I agree. I actually prefer this version of the Crazies to the original. Surprisingly, because I like the original film.
It's different, isn't it? It's kind of analogous to the Dawn of the Dead and the Dawn of the Dead remake in some respects. They're different kinds of beasts, but they're quite good films in their own right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any others, or is it just the Crazies? You just went?
Just the Crazies for me. It's there's plenty of other ones you could put on there, but I was trying not to drag things out too long.
Okie doke. So Becky, your favourite and honourable mentions for 2010.
Okay, so for 2010, I really juggled between two films, but this one won, and it is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And I know you both love this film as well, and I think it's just really, really rewatchable. The meta elements, that's why it won out. And the film that I was struggling with was I Saw the Devil, which has been covered on the podcast, of course. And I think that film is just something else, but this one just won. And I also have Insidious, Stakeland, which I thought was a nice take on the vampire film.
Yes.
30 Days a Night, sticking with vampires.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Indeed. And also The Shrine, which we covered on the podcast as well.
We did. I remember that film because I happened to watch just before it. I think it's hit Black Sunday, the one where Barbara Steele gets a thing hammered into her face.
Yes.
And then I watched The Shrine, not knowing what it was about, and it was another someone getting something hammered into their face. It was like, oh, it's this subgenre then.
One of those weird coincidences.
Yes. So Tucker and Dale, very solid film. One I haven't watched in a while, but I think I need to revisit real soon.
I actually come back to that film like every 6 months. I don't even know how it happens. It's just, I think it's one of those horror films that I can show people and show them that, hey, the genre is really diverse. You can do comedy, but for whatever reason, I just always end up going back to it.
I think it's because it's just charming, right? The friendship is charming, really charming. So that adds to its rewatchability, no end. In my opinion, it's a shame there hasn't been a sequel. Actually,
yeah, they keep dancing around it, don't they? So I'm hopeful, and even I think a TV series was mentioned as well at one point.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
All right, let's go on to 2011. I'll go again if that's okay. Give you both a bit of time to think this through in case.
All right.
Right, my favourite of this year, what I put as the top was Kill List, Ben Wheatley's Kill List, a kind of weird mix between The Wicker Man and I don't know, something like Get Carter or something involving assassins. It's a very, very odd film. I'm not a fan exactly of the ending, but I think the whole film is pretty damn solid. And honourable mentions, I've got Attack the Block. I quite like Attack the Block. It's got a future Doctor Who in it.
I gotta see this.
Cabin in the Woods, I really liked. Cabin in the Woods would have been my choice if Kill List hadn't been made or I hadn't seen it. Quite like Barbarian Sound Studio, which I watched recently on Becky's recommendation. So thanks, Becky. And I quite like Scream 4. And bizarrely, I haven't seen Scream 2 or 3, so I just went from 1 to 4. But I quite like Scream 4. It's quite kind of cool. So that's mine. So look up. What's yours?
For mine, I've got one that I didn't see actually when it came out, but later on, and that's one we've covered on the podcast. You're Next. I really like this one. It takes the slasher formula, just it does it right. Also, I think the kind of animal masks are just downright disturbing.
Yeah, there's something about it, isn't there? People wearing animal masks. I mean, it's back to Wicker Man almost, right? It's kind of that thing.
Yes. I like my mind is going blank on who plays the final girl, if you will, but she is just so likable, and I think that's really the key. When you have a male or female in trouble, but typically it's the final girl, and you want someone really likable. And she just does a magnificent job. And of course, the film has some twists as well. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
I really like the way that it shapes the development of the final girl in this one. It really, I didn't quite see it coming in some respects, and I thought it just took it to a brand new place. And the only other film I think that does the same thing recently would be, I can't remember if it's called Final Girl or Final Girls, but without saying really much about it, it is quite meta and nothing quite like this, but the way that it's so creative is in a similar vein, so I'd really recommend that.
Yeah, there is two films. There is a film called Final Girl and a film called Final Girls. One's pretty good and one's terrible, if I remember rightly. But
well, it's the pretty good one then.
Okay, it's probably Final Girls, I think. Okay, all right, cool. Any others, Lucard, or that list?
That's my list for that. That year, I should say.
Okay, Becky, over to you.
So for 2011, my favourite film was The Right. And I know we've spoken about it before, but I'm not sure if you both caught this one yet.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. Yeah,
Anthony Hopkins, right?
Yes, it is indeed.
Yeah, I love this film.
Yeah, it was all right. I quite liked it. I had let me think. I had a couple of issues with it, but I can't remember what they were. Overall, I thought it was pretty solid. I did have a note against it and nearly put it in my honourable mentions, but I crossed it off in the last minute, sort of thing. But yeah, it's pretty solid. Yeah.
Great, and also I'd recommend, if anybody enjoyed it, that it's actually based on a book about exorcism based on allegedly a true story. So that's an interesting read as well.
Cool. Those topics always fascinate me.
Mm-hmm. And on the back of that, the other honourable mentions, I would add Kill List and You're Next, as well as Human Centipede 2, which I thought did something really different. And I'll say that for Tom Six, all three of the Human Centipede films just do something completely different that you're not expecting and have some very, very interesting takes. But that one had to go on there. And Grave Encounters, the found footage film.
No, I liked the first half of it, but the second half, when it got too CG, it was like, this is annoying me now.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I just love the way that it just completely rips the whole TV paranormal genre apart. That was really great. And the final one would be Paranormal Activity 3, and I still think we need to get Mark to watch the whole series.
I'm scared now. I still have about halfway through 2. That's as far as I got. Yeah. So okay, maybe. Grave
well, 3 I think 3 is actually the scariest. So.
Oh god.
Oh no.
Okay, let's move on. Oh, I just want to mention Barbarian Sound Studio. Yeah, very interesting watch, Becky. You, like I say, you mentioned it to me. It just got weirder and weirder, didn't it? I thought Toby Jones was really good in this. Not sure I liked the final act as well as I could have. It kind of went all over the place, but that was the point, right? So can't complain too much.
It was, and sorry to jump ahead a little bit, but I might as well do it now. For the 2012 list, Barbarian Sound Studio is actually my top film. And just to point out here that I think due to the UK and US release dates, there might be a bit of a difference in our list. So.
On Letterboxd, it was 2011, you see, so I just took it as that. That's why.
But yes, okay, that is enough. My favourite film, if I can just jump ahead there. Wow. And from 2012 on my list, and if anybody hasn't seen it, it's basically about a Foley artist who goes from England to Italy and works on a horror film. You never see the horror film, you just hear the sounds, and it's a psychological, surreal nightmare in which he learns more about himself, and the film starts to come to life around him. And it's just, I listened to, I think it's Mark Commode talking about it, and he called it profound, and I have to agree, I absolutely love it. So if you love the shallow, Italian horror, I'd say definitely check it out if you haven't.
There is definitely something about it. It is definitely intriguing that you never see the film, you just hear the sound effects, and it's like you're kind of like, what am I missing? And there's a a small bit where you think you're watching the film finally, or maybe you are. I'm still not sure. That's one of the things about this film. But it was very interesting. I was glad I saw it for sure.
Yep, and I think as well, just to quickly say, it'd be really great at some point if we did maybe Listomania on films that are particularly their theme is sound. Because that's I think a really interesting take in the horror genre. So this one just made me think.
Because when I was watching it, I was thinking of the De Palma film Blowout, with John Travolta. He's a sound man, isn't he? And he's trying to get recordings.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's sound oriented. It's interesting when a horror film concentrates on one sense. Like Peeping Tom's about visual, isn't it, and things like that. This is about sound. Yeah,
and Hush as well. The recent film Hush.
Yeah, and there's also one which was kind of a home invasion where a couple get into a house, burgle it, and there's a blind man, but he's not.
Don't Breathe.
Don't Breathe. Yes.
Oh yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah,
and of Closet Land with Alan Rickman is fabulous, and I think Madeline Stowe from Last of the Mohicans.
Oh, I know Madeline Stowe. Yeah.
Alan Rickman, and it's about a woman who's kidnapped and she can't really see what's going on, and it's just all about the sound.
Sounds like Don't Be Afraid of the Dark as well. Audrey Hepburn film. Okay.
Yes. See, there you go. We've got a great list already.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to 2012. I have to say, I thought this was a solid year. There's certain years that really stand out. 2012 is not the topmost, but it was quite a standout year. For me, my favourite film... Actually, Becky, you already said Barbarian Sound Studio was your favourite 2012. Do you want to give us your honourable mentions before we go on?
Yeah, sure. I have also got Chernobyl Diaries on here. Which,
not seen that.
Definitely worth checking out. Wasn't too fond of the ending, one of those ones, but the actual storyline, I mean, anything to do with, Chernobyl, and it's really, really interesting, and they go into Pripyat and everything. It's found footage film as well. I've also got Woman in Black, which a lot of people hate, but I really, really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. I do.
And
I liked it when I saw it. I don't... The weird thing is, I don't remember specifics about it,
I'd definitely say check it out again, because Mark and I have both seen the stage show, haven't we?
Yes.
Which was fabulous. But I also really like Woman in Black too, the World War II, is that one, I think?
I did like that.
Oh, man. So much to watch.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
I also have Lords of Salem, which is definitely my favourite zombie film.
You mean Rob Zombie, don't you? Rather than zombies, by the way. Just pointing out to the listeners.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that film as well. It's like a psychological, just a very weird psychological ride, I guess.
I like the focus on music as the infecting agent kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like that.
Definitely. Add it to our sound films list.
Yeah.
And the last one would be Resolution, which I know you're not too fond of, Mark.
No. So I thought it was
a good one.
I thought it was a decent drama, and then at the very last bit, it became a kind of horror, and it didn't work for me. But actually, it was okay. It was engaging. It just didn't think it was a horror film, really.
It just didn't really get under your skin at all.
No, not at all.
See, it was weird to me because it got me pretty good. And it kind of goes back to that what you don't see sort of thing. I liked that one a lot, actually.
Okay. Okay, Becky, is that your list for 2012?
That's me done.
Okay. Me, you did actually say a lot of the films I had on my list, but not my favourite. So my favourite for 2012 was Maniac, the remake of Maniac, with Elijah Wood. Really, really intense and good horror film. This really sort of gnarly and greasy and horrible. Much like the original. The original has this really sweaty vibe. Maniac did it a completely different way. The remake did it a completely different way, but captured the mood. And there's a lot of first person in it, which sounds gimmicky, but it really worked well. Have either of you guys seen it?
I've seen the original, but not the Elijah Wood version.
Yep, me too.
Give it a try. It's really good. It's really good. And it trumped the film that I should have said, really. Cockneys versus Zombies would have been my choice for this year.
That's the best film ever.
No, but Maniac, as a horror film, Maniac really works well. And like I said, I got Cockneys versus Zombies. Also got Woman in Black, Lords of Salem. And one that is sort of side horror is another Ben Wheatley film called Sightseers, which is about a couple in England who kind of hook up. They're very ordinary, downbeat, working class people, but they go on a caravan holiday and start getting murderous. And there's just some really funny lines in it and funny stuff going on. It's Alice Lowe is one of the main characters who went on to make Prevenge, about a pregnant woman horror film. But she's really good in it, so I recommend that. I think it's on Netflix. A vampire film called Byzantium, which with Gemma Arterton, and I think Cissa Reese, is it? I can't remember now.
I think it's Saoirse.
Saoirse. Okay,
yeah.
Saoirse. Byzantium. And an Irish horror film called Grabbers, which is based on a fantastic premise, given it's an Irish horror film, that the aliens will only get you if you're not drunk. So to protect themselves, they lock themselves in a pub and start drinking. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
That's a really fun film too. So that's my 2012 list. So Lucard, what's yours?
All right. So I have one that kind of pays some homage to some of the classics, and that would be Frankenweenie. Have you guys seen this one? I went silly for this one.
I haven't, no.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's Tim Burton, stop motion kind of animation. But what I like about it as well is it's actually in black and white. So it kind of further pays homage to particularly Frankenstein. That's kind of the main thing. But I just found that this film in particular to be so charming. And it's another one I like going back to quite often, especially if the kids are around. It's another one you can just throw on.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's the same space as Nightmare Before Christmas or Corpse Bride or stuff like that, right? It's got that kind of feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice one. Okay, 2013. I'll jump in first this time, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I feel like should I? Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, go for it.
Remake of Evil Dead. Really like this.
Hey, I just watched that today, Mark.
Yes, I really.
It's been on my list for ages.
There's quite a lot of blood in it. It has to be said.
Man, it is a violent film.
It is, and it takes a few elements, more than a few elements, from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. However, it's still fully Evil Dead, and a really good remake. Different in many ways to the sort of original trilogy. Much more serious film, but I do really think the premise of them doing like an interception to help someone with a drug habit and isolating themselves to that as the reason they're in this isolated place. I think that really works well. I really, really like this, and the lead actress is really terrific. She's also been in Castle Rock recently. As was it Jackie Torrance is her name in that? How about that? It's a Stephen King series, as well as Evil Dead. On my honourable mentions, I've got a few possibly controversial ones. Another Ben Wheatley film. We've had Kill List, Sightseers, and now this is the next one. A Field in England, which has got some of the most weird imagery you'll have seen this decade, and it's actually It's upsetting, and I don't mean that in it's a horrific or gory. I mean, it hurts your brain to watch it. Some of the visuals are just so weird. They actually physically hurt to watch it.
Oh, wow.
That's A Field in England. It's a black and white film. Another one which I feel like I'm probably the only person who's ever seen is one I quite like with Anna Kendrick called Rapture Palooza, where she's it's basically the rapture has happened and all the people left, the people that didn't get taken up, and the Earth's basically empty. But there's stuff like it's kind of a comedy drama thing, more comedy than anything. For example, all the insects, or a lot of the insects, can now talk, and that they just hate people. So while she's wandering around, these little bugs are saying, "Die, get lost." While she's walking around. Going to another extreme, I actually quite like I Spit on Your Grave 2. This might be a bit controversial.
I was going to say, that is kind of controversial, because I have heard not so flattering things about that film.
Yeah, the reason I like it is because it goes fully extreme, and it becomes almost mythical. The abuse this woman suffers is just horrendous. But she becomes almost like Wraith-like. It's almost like The Crow. She becomes Wraith-like and sort of unstoppable revenge machine against these guys. And I kind of like the fact that they did not take their foot off the gas at all in it. Whereas I wasn't a fan of the I Spit on Your Grave, the first one, the remake one, the earlier one, because I thought it was well acted and the first half was kind of horrible. But the woman... her nature changed too much for the characterization they built. What she then didn't quite work. Whereas for some reason, I Spit on Your Grave, it was just completely full bore mad, and it kind of worked. Excuse me. Another one I got was Oculus. Do you guys see Oculus?
Love Oculus.
Indeed.
And Only Lovers Left Alive, another vampire film with Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton. Really like that one. It's really got a good soundtrack as well. It's one of the few films I've got the soundtrack of. And another one which is a kind of folk horror one called Jugface. A sort of horror set in this rural community. I quite like that. So that's me. So, Lucard, what's your favourites of 2013?
Well, 2013, you already mentioned it, Mark, and that would be Oculus. I really liked Oculus, the whole thing with the mirror, and a lot of that film is kind of what you don't see, They just sort of, a lot of it is honestly the music in the film and just the acting. But yeah, I have a real soft spot for this one. I actually was looking at reviews for it the other day, before I put it on my list, and a lot of people don't seem to kind of rate this one very highly, but it resonated with me.
I do like the whole unreliable narrator vibe to what's going on, because they don't know if what they're doing is real or not, and the choices they make are real or not. I kind of like that. I thought it was really good. Yeah,
a lot of kind of psychological horror going on there. I do have an honorable mention for, I'm hoping this is right, Rigor Mortis from 2013, which, Becky, you put me onto that film, a Chinese, or I should say Hong Kong film. And I love that movie. That's just an awesome, awesome film.
Yes, that's actually on my honorable mentions as well.
Nice. Very cool.
Okay, Becky, what's your 2013 movies?
Okay, so my top one is The Conjuring. And I know a lot of people hate it, but I just have a real soft spot for this film. It ticks a lot of boxes for me, even though obviously it's a little bit... I have a bit of an issue with how it repaints certain figures. But I'm going to... The Conjuring universe, Monoverse, whatever you want to call it, I'm always going to show up for those films. And I think Conjuring 3 is out in September, isn't it? The new one.
I know it's coming.
Soon.
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be there to watch it too. I mean,
you know what? I missed that from our list. I do like The Conjuring 2, and for some reason I overlooked it. Good choice.
Yeah, I just figured Becky was going to put it on her list, so I think that's why. I was trying not to duplicate.
We've been quite distinct, haven't we, so far? We haven't really we haven't agreed on a top film at all.
No,
it's kind of interesting.
That's good. I like it.
Have you got any other honourable mentions, Becky?
I have indeed. So the first one would be Rigor Mortis, as has been mentioned. And I would also add to that Willow Creek. which is a found footage film about Bigfoot by Bobcat Goldthwait.
Goldthwait, yeah. He's an interesting character. He's been making some TV anthology stuff.
Yes.
Mr. Monsters, I think it was called. I watched the first one for part of my own anthology podcast. Really liked it. It was good. But yeah, I want to get around to watching that. And I do like some of his other films. There's that, was it World's Greatest Dad? Is pretty intense. And God Bless America. In fact, it's God Bless America in this decade, because that really should be on one of my lists, if it is. I think it was last decade, though. I really like his work, actually, what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and this is quite different as well, if you haven't seen this one. But I mean, anything to do with Bigfoot, and I'm there. So that is, it is a fun watch. Yeah. Have you seen this one?
No, I have not. I've actually seen it around, and I want to say it's actually on my Amazon Prime list. Just haven't got to it yet.
Nice. You've seen it, sorry, Mark.
So Mark,
I've seen it. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, I like his work. And I've just looked up, God Bless America was made in 2011, so that should have been on my 2011 list. I really like that film. Even though I have to say the opening scene could be quite off-putting for some people. There's some trauma involving children that's like, but it's a fantasy sequence, it turns out, so it's not quite as bad as you think, but it's a bit distressing. If you're not expecting it, you go in cold. It's the very first thing. It's kind of whoa, but otherwise, it's a good film. I really like it.
Indeed, and I would also add Dark Skies, the UFO film.
Oh yeah, I have this on my list as well to watch. I mean, not on my list of these films, but so that's a really good one then.
It is. It just for me it covers a lot of ground in that area, because there are so many, especially found footage films about UFOs and such, that they don't really go anywhere, or do you know what I mean? But this actually goes into all different types of reports and such, so definitely give that one a watch. And the Banshee Chapter as well, which is also a found footage film, and this is a really weird one. It's got Ted Levine in it, and it is basically a conspiracy found footage film about Project MK Ultra and a drug that was created, and it goes in like loads of different directions. So especially if you're a fan of the found footage film and you haven't heard of this one, definitely check it out, because it took me a while to come across it.
Sounds interesting, right?
Yeah.
But what's it called? The Banshee?
It's called Banshee Chapter.
Banshee Chapter, right.
Quite Lovecraftian.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. I'll make a note of that. Banshee Chapter. Right. Okay, let's move on to the next year, which is 2014. Becky, would you like to go first?
Of course. My favourite film from 2014, and again, I was tossing two films. That sounds disgusting.
Will you now?
Toss me. I have to toss me.
My favourite film from 2014, and I had to choose very carefully between two films, was Starry Eyes.
I've never ever heard of this.
How have you not heard of this?
Starry Eyes.
Yes. If you're going to watch any film that I've recommended on my list today, I would suggest it would be this one. I was really blown away by it.
I'm putting a star by the Starry Eyes.
Yep, me too. So what's kind of the premise of it? Yeah.
It is basically about an aspiring actress and the lengths that she will go to become a member of Hollywood, that elite, if you will. It's about the cult of Hollywood.
Starry Eyes.
Okay. All right.
I've always liked the kind of Hollywood murder mysteries. There's this one show I used to watch. I think it was called. It was on the E Network, and it was like True Murders of Hollywood or something. And murders from like probably the 1930s through the 60s or 70s. Just really unique, kind of Norian stuff almost. So this sounds like it kind of be up my alley.
Okay. Have you got any other mentions for that year, Becky?
I have indeed. So the film that I was debating whether or not to put as my top choice was Spring, which you both know I love.
Yes, I watched this because you mentioned this is might be one of your films of the year, and I thought, well, I've never even heard of this, so I better watch it. Yeah, really liked it. It was like the positive. It could go paired well with Possession, with Possession's wholly negative, Spring is wholly positive, but they got a similar feel to them. But that might be a bit far. It's a love story. It's a horror love story, right? Slightly Lovecraftian horror love story.
It is indeed, and I think it would pair really well with Possession. And I know that we've spoken about potentially doing an episode comparing them both, so I'd still like to do that if you two again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Spring is really good.
Yep, I actually own Spring and have not watched it yet. I bought it because you recommended it, Becky, and just have not gotten to it.
Awesome, and it's got a great soundtrack as well, and it just sort of diffuses everything from history and science and kind of monster lore all together. It's a really interesting story, and I know you're not a fan of Resolution, Matt, but it's by the same filmmakers.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like Spring. Did like Resolution. How about that?
Interesting, isn't it? Though, like the fact that they're so different, and they also made The Endless, which I think you've seen, but I haven't yet.
I haven't seen The Endless, no.
Okay.
I didn't bother after watching Resolution. And if I'd have known that it was the same people making Spring, I may not have watched Spring. So it's probably a good idea. I didn't know. Honestly, it feels completely different. It feels like a totally different team.
Yeah.
Weird.
Exactly.
Weird. Have you got any others?
I have indeed. I've got As Above, So Below, found footage film. Mm-hmm. And have you both seen this one?
No.
No.
What city does that take place in? I'm trying to remember.
That is in the catacombs in Paris.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is like a really claustrophobic kind of film, right?
It is indeed.
Yeah.
And
I do remember seeing that.
It's just got some really interesting themes that I've not seen really explored anywhere else in this type of film. So definitely give that a go. Also, The Taking of Deborah Logan, sticking with found footage.
I'm trying to remember if I've seen this. This is like the old lady, isn't it?
It is. And it does that great thing where it straddles the line between like the science and whether or not it's supernatural all the way through, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Fair enough.
More medical, I should say, in this one.
Yeah, medical, right. Okay. Shall I go next? Oh, sorry. Did you finish?
Sorry, just had a couple more. I think this is one where I had a little bit of a longer list. I had Last Shift, which we covered on the podcast.
Yeah, I really like
enjoyed.
that. I didn't have it I haven't got it on my list, but I did like that.
And also The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yeah, that's pretty solid too. Yes, good choices.
Yep,
yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I go next? I'll go next.
Yeah, go for it.
For me, the horror film of the year was What We Do in the Shadows, which I cannot believe that film's now 6 years old, but so be it.
Wow, that's 2014?
Yeah, I really, really like the film. And I like the TV series that's spun off of it too quite a lot. The film, though, is top class. I laugh my head off in certain scenes still, and I know exactly what's coming, but I cannot help but laugh, which is a sign of a good comedy, really. You know, if it can tickle you every time you see it, that's really something. The bit with the cat is the bit I'm talking about, but there's others.
So good.
Yeah, it's just funny. I mean, it's really nice to see Taika Waititi, being such a creative force now with stuff like Jojo Rabbit and Thor Ragnarok and stuff like that. So yeah, honourable mentions are Spring. I really, really like Spring. I thought it was really good. Babadook, I really like Babadook. This seems to get bad press at the minute. Sometimes when I hear people talking about that, like very dismissive. But no, I think it's a solid film. Interesting callback to German expressionist horror films. I really like Under the Skin. That was good with Scarlett Johansson. It Follows, the sort of parable about sexually transmitted diseases, I think. I'm not quite sure. And Creep. I really like Creep as well. That's a good found footage film. Well, it's not a found footage. You know what I mean. It's meant to be real footage. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I like those. Okay, so Lucard, over to you.
All right, so there can only be one best film of 2014 for me, and that's got to be Wolf Cop. I love this crazy Canadian film.
How did I miss that? Oh my goodness.
Me too. Honestly, I'm amazed it's 2014. It feels like a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
totally.
I know. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't want to even spoil any scenes in it, but there are certain scenes that you will never be able to forget. I'll put it that way. It's just, it puts a new spin, a little bit of a new spin on the werewolf genre. And, there's a Wolf Cop 2 now, which I actually have not seen.
Yeah. I've heard there's a Wolf Cop 2, but I haven't seen it either. And I have to say, I think there's at least 2 things in that film where I thought, I've never, ever seen anything like that on film before. There's at least 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nice choice.
Thank you. Honorable mention, I think you guys have kind of hit all the big ones.
I missed one that I really actually did want to talk about because I only watched it yesterday and I really was surprised how good it was. It's a kind of a found footage. It's based on footage, meant to be real footage, and it's called Unfriended. It's a social media horror film.
Yeah, when you said you were watching this, Mark, I was like, oh man, like I've heard such mixed reviews on that.
It really worked for me. It really worked. When these guys are just talking online, shooting the breeze, and little glitches start happening, and it leads to a sense of foreboding. But they are the sort of glitches you get when you use computers. So, and honestly, today when I had a glitch, it's like, oh man, this is like Unfriended, Man, it was really well constructed. Have you seen it, Becky? You like the found footage, don't you?
Yeah. And
what do you think?
I really enjoyed it, and there's a sequel, and it's actually, I really enjoyed both of them. It's not quite as good as the first one, but it goes somewhere a little bit different.
Yeah, it's. I totally watched the sequel, but based on how good this is, and I thought there was like a few minutes right in the middle where they just felt like whiny teenagers, but they were forced to play a game. But mostly it was really good, and the thing about it engaged right from the beginning, really did. It was a bit skeevy at the beginning because it was just a couple talking and kind of. Not quite cyber sex, but it was getting to that, and I felt a bit like voyeuristic. But then their friends jumped in, and they all started talking, and then someone kept appearing. It was on their Skype call, and they couldn't see who it was, and it went on from there, and it was very good. I really liked it.
Yeah, it has some nice commentary, I think, on like social media and identity and how much information we put out there. And the second film expands the film's mythology.
Yeah, it's Unfriended Dark Web is the second one, isn't it? Because I did see that, but I didn't get a chance to watch. I only watched Unfriended last night, so I didn't get a chance to watch it anymore. Wow. Okay, 2015. Lucard, I'm going to invite you to go first for this one. 2015. What's your
2015? Favorite? All right, so 2015, I've got to go to New Zealand for that one with Deathgasm. Have you guys seen this one?
Yes.
It's like in the vein of, it's almost like Evil Dead a little bit, right? Like just gratuitous amounts of blood and violence, and oh man, this film really caught me off guard when I saw it. I guess I didn't know what I was getting into, but I was like, wow, this film is like 5 stars all the way.
Yeah, you like. It reminded me very much. It was riffing on the Peter Jackson early films. If you like this, Lucard, and you haven't seen them, you'd probably really like Brain Dead by Peter Jackson.
Love that film. Yes, there you go. It's a great movie.
This other one is Dead Alive. It's got 2 names. I'm trying to think. Dead Alive, not the. Is it Bill Paxton one? Not the one where there's like rat monkeys biting people and they start turning into zombies with a zombie baby. Those two are very reminiscent of this. Deathgasm's a lot of fun. Yes, I liked it a lot. Metal turns people into monsters, right? That's what it's kind of about.
Yeah, I think you almost have to love metal in order to enjoy this movie.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure people that like metal enjoy this movie. I don't think you need to love metal to enjoy the movie. I think it's a good movie anyway. But
yeah, I do too. But
yeah, I only watched it because you mentioned it, and I really enjoyed it. Yes, it's on my list for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
Have you got any honourables?
Let me check very quickly here. I think I was trying to keep it. Oh yes, I do have one. Bone Tomahawk, which I know we've talked about on here before. It's a horror movie western, and I don't want to give away the plot, but just really, really well done. I thought.
It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
film.
Yeah. Surprisingly rated kind of average from what I saw. Just kind of looking over these lists, I actually, Bone Tomahawk is another one that I would say is like a 5-star film. Like it was really hard deciding between these two films for me.
Yes, I really like the characterization, the acting, the framing, everything about the film. It's just, it only really qualifies as horror because it's got that unbelievably gruesome sort of body damage. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That just came out of nowhere almost, other than I knew it was going to happen. But a really good Western. Really good Western. Have you seen it, Becky?
I have. It's on my honourable mentions. I'll never watch it again because that scene is the most disgusting thing I think I've ever seen.
It goes,
I was going to say it goes through me, but that's probably not the best phrase to use.
Were you split over it?
Oh, man.
Yeah, but you can. It's only about 30 seconds. You can keep your eyes shut. And
I don't know.
The sound's pretty much as well.
It's just so effective. Like just the situation, everything. I don't know what it is about that scene and them being locked away. And
yeah,
it made me think a bit of the Descent, the creatures in the Descent, kind of. It was that. It made me think of those weird troglodyte creature things as well, somewhat.
I think there's so many more kind of horror stories to tell in the Old West, that really not many films have taken advantage of. Just a very few, and Bone Tomahawk is one of them.
Bone Tomahawk, Grim Prairie Tales, which you just can't get a copy of now, which I quite like. Which is an anthology Western horror. That's kind of cool. But there's a few.
Oh,
others.
nice.
There's a few others. Any more?
That's it for me.
Okay, I'll rattle off a few. So 2015 for me, the film of the year was The Witch. I really like The Witch.
Oh man, how did I miss that?
It's a real piece of quality, The Witch. I think really terrific horror film. Any other decade, it might have been the film of the decade for me. I'm showing my hand here. I better shut up. But The Witch is really, really impactful and good. And I also want to talk about later on another piece of work by the same director, which I think is really good too. Yes, so The Witch was my favourite. I've got as honourable mentions Bone Tomahawk, like yourself, Deathgasm 2. He Never Died, the Henry Rollins film. I really like that. I think it's on Netflix. It's kind of not a horror film. It's got horrific elements, but it's more supernatural and not cosmic's the wrong word. Feeds into our common mythologies. I'd say. Let's put it that way. It's got a history element to it. I also really like the Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Going completely different now. Have you guys seen that? It's fun.
I have not seen that. No.
I've not. No.
No, try and catch it. It's very fun. It's got a feel. One of the characters almost feels like Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. He's got that kind of feel. It is one of the Scouts. It's very funny. Crimson Peak, I really liked. That's another one to get with Del Toro. Krampus.
Oh yeah,
I really like too. That's on my Christmas watch list now. Krampus, I really like that. Another one that's not very famous that I think I've talked about on the podcast before, called Patchwork, where basically this girl wakes up and it turns out she's now been sewn together as 3 girls, and they all have a piece of control of this body, and they have to work together to figure out what's gone on with them. It's a really interesting horror film. I really like it. So there's that. All right, okay, Becky, 2015.
My top film from 2015 has already been mentioned, and that is He Never Died with Henry Rollins. I really liked the mythology. As Mark said, it just adds a fresh take to it. I really like that.
Yeah, it's got an interesting mythology, and one of the reasons I really like it is the way it's written and the way it's acted is entirely consistent with the mythology. Makes sense, like authentic, basic emotional level. It really resonates as truth. Do you know what I mean? Even though it's like ridiculous, it's supernatural and weird. I just really like it. And Henry Rollins really knocks it out of the park. He's really good in this.
He is. I was actually surprised just how great he was.
Yeah, because I've seen him hosting stuff and he's very wooden. But in this, he was completely natural. I think it helps the character is meant to be subdued, because he's trying to keep a lid on things. It really is.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
That's what it's all about. I really like this. If you haven't seen it, Lucard, try and catch this. It's really good. I think you'd really
I'm actually going to move it up on my Netflix list because I've had it on there probably for like a year and just haven't gotten to it.
It's really not what you think it's going to be.
Okay, cool.
No. And I loved the ending, which you can't say about, most horror films. Generally, if something's going to let you down, it's going to be the ending. And I really, really liked that. I thought it was actually quite chilling.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes. Okay, 2016. I'll take this one.
Right.
For me, the film of the year was Train to Busan. I really like this. I was also going to try and get to watch Seoul Station, which is the animated prequel or side story to this, but I just didn't get a chance. But Train to Busan's really kick-ass. It really moves. It feels there's an emotional investment. It's got a lot of frenetic action, but that doesn't detract from the emotional content in it. It's not just a goofy film. It means something. What's going on means something. So I really like this one. Have you guys seen it?
Actually, I just saw this, about a month ago, and really love it as well. In fact, it's also my top, Mark. So
finally got a jewel.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. I haven't seen a zombie film that I have liked this much in a very long time. And this really it struck all the right chords with me, especially the relationship between the father and, the little girl, the daughter, which is a little bit strained. We can say that without giving anything away, but just a really, really cool film. And man, some of the scenes with the zombies in there are just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and they're just devastatingly. They overtake everything, don't they? That's the thing. As also, they're almost unstoppable. It's just by luck, really. They sometimes escape some of the stuff going on. Like some of the vibe, they've got their own kind of rules as well. These zombies, haven't they? They're a bit distinct from Romero zombies, a little, anyway. So yeah, nice. Good. We'll come back to your honourable mentions. But I'll just mention mine. Autopsy of Jane Doe, which we covered on the podcast. Really like that.
I had that on mine too.
Okay, cool.
Great minds think alike.
Yes, that's right. A Cure for Wellness, I quite liked. And Raw, which is why Becky... Have you been harassing me to watch this for a long time, Becky? I've got that in my head that you have, but I can't remember that.
Well, I've not seen it, so...
No, it isn't you. There must be someone else. So yeah, Raw was interesting. I really liked, and it was different. It's a French film. It was a bit different from what you'd expect, and how it went on. So in that, which made it unpredictable, which made it more entertaining, I think. My last one was more of a sci-fi film, and it's a bit zombie-ish as well. It's The Girl with All the Gifts, a British sort of sci-fi horror. Quite like that. That was okay. It was reminiscent in some ways of something like 28 Days Later, but there was something else going on as well. It's one of these films where children are being isolated and we're not quite sure why. It's one of those kind of horror films. So yeah, I like that a lot. So that's why 2016. So Lucard, you've already told us Train to Busan is your top. What else you got?
The only other one that I'm pretty sure Becky is going to mention is The Conjuring 2. Love that one. And
Okay.
that is those are the big ones.
Cool. Becky, over to you.
Okay, so my top film from 2016 is The Wailing, which I think is on Netflix at the moment in the
Yeah,
UK.
I watched this. It was all right.
Oh, I loved it.
Hold on. Honestly, I watched it, and about a week later, I had real trouble even remembering it. Because I was thinking, I watched this, and yes, I did. I checked on Letterboxd. That's how it didn't really impact me.
Oh, wow.
Maybe
That's
I
a
wa-
shame.
I think, you know what? I think I watched it the same day as I watched Parasite, and Parasite is a much more overpowering kind of experience in terms of it's distinct, whereas The Wailing was like some other films. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and it is a very long film as well. I'll say that for The
You know
Wailing.
what? I'm saying that, but I've given it 4 stars. But I can't remember any. Man, my mind's going. Well, I'll tell you what I said. I can tell you that it takes
Yes.
the time to really get going, but when it does, the plot keeps snaking in different directions, making you uncertain of what might possibly come next. That's what I've put. That's all I've put. But I've given it 4 stars, so I must have really liked it.
This
and then
is
completely forgotten about it.
This is a Korean film?
Yep, it's a South Korean film, and it's basically about a detective and his village. There's like a strange illness sweeping through it, whereby people are attacking other people in like a zombie type rage, and they believe that there is a Japanese person who's, I think, recently moved to the area, and everybody thinks that it's him. So there's this whole kind of, socio-political kind of strange climate, and it's basically the film basically talks about the it's like Christianity and shamanism, and the conflict between the two, and where he puts his allegiance and his faith. It's a really interesting film, I think.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check this one out.
While we're talking about Korean zombie films, I have to mention there's a really good TV series that is worth trying to catch called Kingdom, which is like medieval Korea. I think it's Korea, with zombies. It's really good. It's really good.
Oh, cool.
The Kingdom.
Nice. Definitely.
It's on
Kingdom?
Netflix.
On my list.
It's on Netflix. Okay.
And I have a few honourable mentions as well, which are obviously Autopsy of Jane Doe, The Conjuring 2, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is brilliant. And if you're a fan of Jane Austen, it so cleverly just, strips that apart. Basically, if you're a horror fan like me and you love Jane Austen, it's perfect. It's really clever. And also A Dark Song, which seems to have really kind of fallen off everybody's radar.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
And if The Wailing hadn't been this year, then I think A Dark Song would have been my favourite of the year. And that's a really, really interesting one. It's basically a woman who seeks help of an occultist to perform a ritual in a house, and they have to hold themselves away for, I think it's something like months for the ritual to happen. You know, in supernatural films, somebody recites an incantation and something happens automatically. This really goes to pains to show that in this film, it takes a really long time and the sacrifice, and the ending, I completely did not see the ending coming. It's a really, really nice little indie film.
That sounds cool. Right, nice one.
Yeah.
Okay, next year. This one was a really tough year. There was a lot of good stuff going on, in my opinion. 2017. I got a feeling my top, it was going to be someone else's top as well. However, Lucard, was your best horror film of 2017?
That would be It Chapter 1.
Yep, that's mine.
Yeah, it was a good year for horror, Mark. I agree.
Yeah, It Chapter 1 still really works for me. I quite like the 2, but I've only watched it the once. Even though I bought the Blu-ray, I haven't got around to watching it again, because it is quite a long film, the second one, isn't it? But the first one, great version of Pennywise. Everyone was expecting it not to be so great, right, compared to Tim Curry's version. But he made his mark, didn't he? He really did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can beat the original Tim Curry performance, but I think that for a lot of people, that maybe have never seen, the original TV film, that's going to be the Pennywise they think of, particularly for younger viewers,
Yeah. I always think that there's a few Stephen King stories that really bear remaking because of the nature of them, and I think it's one of them, and I think Carrie's actually one of them, even though there's been some poor remakes of it. I think its content, it's what it's addressing is kind of a generational thing, so it works as a remake, I think it is too. I really liked it, Chapter 1. Okay, any other honourable mentions?
I don't believe I had any.
Okay, don't. I've got a lot, so I don't want to just read out a list and spoil other people. So, Becky, what's your favourite of this year?
From 2017, it's Get Out. And I think it's such an important film, and I was just completely blown away by it. And I know I've heard people say that they don't rate it as horror, but it completely is. Jordan Peele has stated that it's horror, so yeah, exactly.
Now, is that considered 2017?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was sorry. I have it for another year. But
no, that's fine. Like I said at the opening, there's going to be some discrepancy, I think, because of release dates. So that's perfectly fine.
Gotcha. But yeah, I agree with everything you said there, Becky. It's definitely a film that really, it'll get under your skin and certainly will make you think about the differences, I guess, in skin color, so to speak.
Yeah, indeed. And great performances throughout from everybody. And the way that it marries, quite a lot of really, socio-political commentary with humour. I thought it just struck exactly the right tone. Really, really enjoyed that. And do you want me to go ahead with my honourable mentions?
Go ahead.
The first one would be The Ritual.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good film.
Just talked about.
Yeah.
Film are two halves distinct, and I personally prefer the first half by far, but I think it's a good solid film all the way through now.
Indeed. And also Phoenix Forgotten, which is a found footage horror film about a few teens in the desert, and they're younger teens. So there are really great performances from all of them, but it's not like your typical kind of found footage horror fare. And just the way that it told the story was, using the word believable here, but it's just a really, really well done little found footage horror about these UFOs that they've seen in the desert. And because there's a lot of found footage films like that, I think all based on the Phoenix Lights. So it's like part of that kind of subgenre, but this is definitely one of the best because I've watched a few on that subject. I'd also add the film Cold Skin, which I think you've watched as well, Mark.
Yeah, it's on my list, Cold Skin. Yes, I really like Cold Skin.
Yeah, and I believe it's from 2017, the film The Crucifixion.
Okay, I don't know what year it is, but yeah.
Which is a possession film. If I'm thinking of the right one, it was written by Chad and Corey Hayes, who also wrote the Conjuring series.
Oh, okay. Okay. Does it have a similar feel, or is it quite different?
In terms of its themes, because they're practicing Christians, so I think that's why you get that, heavy kind of religious kind of feel to the films. But it's set in Italy, I believe, all around it's a journalist investigating the death of a nun in a convent, and she goes off and gets embroiled in obviously this whole kind of satanic sector. But again, it's quite believable, to use that word. A lot of these found footage films, even if it's just from this, suddenly the camera becomes omniscient and such, it's actually done really, really well, and it's a believable story in that.
Okay, that sounds cool. Yeah. Okay. I haven't done my honourable mentions. Chapter 1 was my favourite too, so we've kind of talked about that. My honourable mentions are Get Out, as you've already said, and Cold Skin. Also Shape of Water. I really like Shape of Water, and I feel like Shape of Water and Cold Skin would make a good double bill because they kind of hit similar marks. The nature of, you can fall in love with your monster kind of. Happy Death Day, I really liked. Gerald's Game, which we've talked about in the podcast. Have we? I've talked about it on mine. I'm trying to think if we've talked about it on UNH.
I think you've definitely mentioned it, yeah.
Okay, and what else? Revenge. You guys seen Revenge? French film.
I haven't, no.
No, I haven't either.
It's a rape revenge film, but there's something... Again, I kind of like it because the woman involved is becomes almost like a wraith-like creature. You know, she becomes driven to do this, but in a slightly less mythical way. She becomes human. You know, she's still got humanity, but one of the plot points is she's got these peyote, which helps her revive after this horrible thing that happens to her. And I don't mean the rape. I mean what should have been a fatal accident. She manages to escape, which kind of makes her not Superwoman, but you know, really driven and sort of not quite hopped up on drugs, but something about it. I really like it. It's really good. Nicolas Cage, Mum and Dad. You guys seen this?
We have indeed. Oh, I thought we talked about it on the show.
I don't think I've seen this one.
Becky, what do you think of this?
I really enjoyed it. I think because didn't we cover it, you and I, Mark, for the show?
Well, we did. We've covered it. I think we have. Yes, actually.
My memory's going now as well.
Yes.
No, yeah, really enjoyed this.
What else? Tragedy Girls. I really like that. That's kind of a comedy horror about these girls obsessed with serial killers and knowing all the tropes, and it's a bit post Scream. It had that kind of feel. I kind of like that. Creep 2, I really liked. The bad guy in Creep gets kind of played his own game against him. It's kind of fun. And The Ritual, which we've already talked about. Right, so that's that. Right, 2018. Shall I go first?
Yeah.
Again, not quite as many films as 2017, but a very solid year, I think. My film of the year for this is Mandy. I really, really thought Mandy was a great film. You wasn't quite as taken with it, was you, Becky, as I was. I thought it was a masterpiece, I think is how I described it.
I need to watch it again. I think I said at the time, like I watched it in quite a fractured way with somebody who really wasn't a fan of it. So, and they kept voicing that. So I think that's what I need to watch it again by myself in one go.
Bizarrely, I think it'll make a kind of cool double bill with Ghost Rider 2, whereas Nicolas Cage is the avenging spirit.
My head is on fire.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think it'll make a bizarre and wonderful double bill, actually, with that.
I think if you watched it with Knight Rider, you'd feel like you're taking some of those drugs yourself.
I did mean no. Yeah, you know what okay.
That would be fun, though.
Apostle was on my honorable mentions. Is Apostle, Dan Stevens' film, which is on Netflix, which was a
really enjoyed that.
Really good film. The Halloween, the most recent Halloween entry was pretty solid. I liked the vibe. I liked what it was going for. It was nice to see Jamie Lee Curtis in a main role again. I thought she was really good, really delivered. Suspiria. Now, I wasn't expecting to like this, but man, it was good. I still think the original is a classic, and this isn't quite there, but there's elements in this that are really effective and really stick with you. They're hard to get out of your head, the sort of weird dance sequences and stuff like that. Unfortunately, there is a character near the end who, I don't know, it reminds me of... Have you seen Scrooged, where the rotting boss comes back with sunglasses? It reminded me of that. Which was a bit unfortunate. It took you out a bit. But there was a touch of that. But yeah, I really liked that. It was a similar but different mythology from the original film. They use all the same names, but it's a different vibe. And I like the fact they use dance as the spell, almost. Which kind of relates to what we were talking about earlier, sound and stuff like that. Suspiria does all that too. It's a very old film, and I quite liked it. Another one I like is a book. a film based on a book by Shirley Jackson, and it's called We Have Always Lived in the Castle. It's not quite a horror, really. It's more a thriller drama, but I really liked it. I think you'd like it a lot, Becky. I really do. And I'm going to guess you haven't seen it because it hasn't had that much of a release.
No, haven't seen this one.
One of the main actresses in it is from True Detective season 1. The first lover of Woody Harrelson. I can't remember the actress's name. She's
Alexandra
in it.
Daddario?
That's her. She's in it as one of the sisters in this house, trying to keep it together. She's really good. In fact, everyone's really good in this film. So I really liked it, and it was very true to the book, and I really liked the book as well, so that helps. I also liked A Quiet Place. That was good. And something that was kind of similar to Quiet Place in the tropes and the vibe it was picking up was Bird Box. This got a bit under, a bit dismissed, but I actually really like Bird Box. I thought it was really good. So that's me. That's me.
No, I agree. I liked Bird Box a lot too.
In fact, it was similar to Quiet Place, but I actually preferred it to A Quiet Place. I felt there was more heart to it, though there was quite a lot of heart to A Quiet Place as well. So,
yeah, both I think have a lot of heart, really. Both good films, just kind of different subject matter, I guess.
Yeah, just a similar vibe. Sorry, Becky.
And interesting how both of those two films, again, like you were talking about, Mark, they're forced to give up one of their senses, or
yes.
It's in certain ways. So
yeah,
or it's concentrated on a certain sense. So
I thought there were some similar beats for sure. Okay, Lucard, what's your favourite for 2018?
Well, I had Get Out as my number one, but I'm wondering if I have the date wrong on that. But for honorable mentions, I also had the new Halloween, which I thought was really good. I liked that one a whole lot. And you already mentioned Bird Box there, Mark. So, yeah, those are pretty much it for 2018. It's obviously a little bit fresher in my mind.
Yes.
As we come up on, our current timeline here. But, yeah, I felt like 2018 was also a really good year for horror films.
Solid. Yeah, Becky, 2018. Tell us about your 2018.
Okay, so my 2018 top film is Terrified, which I definitely recommended it to both of you, but I can't remember if you watched it. It's also known as, I think it's Atreides, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, I did watch it. Didn't really like it. Didn't think there was much to it. I'm terrible, aren't I?
Yes.
It was okay. I just didn't. I wasn't scared. I wasn't that invested. I think it's one of those ones that just didn't grab me at all. Do you find it scary, Becky, or is it just?
I did, yeah. I did. There were elements that I really liked in terms of the scares. I mean, it had gore, like the visceral gore, and also it kind of married together a few things that I like with the paranormal investigation.
Yeah.
And
I like there was a detective element for sure, wasn't there?
Yes, exactly. Like there's quite a few different kind of genres that just really came together. The ending was I wasn't too keen on exactly where it went, but for the majority of the running time, like I was completely on board, and I just came across this by chance because I think it's from Argentina, the film, and it just really. I think
the problem I had was it was kind of fractured, which I think they were trying to use for me. They probably were trying to use it to sort of build tension, and you'd go off on something and then you go to something else. But instead of building, I felt it diffused what was going on. It was, while I said I wasn't frightened, it was tense. I was on edge for some of it, so it wasn't terrible. I'm not saying that at all. It just I didn't think it was that great. That's all.
Yeah, no, and I get that because I think like that fracture is how they've tried to marry all those different elements together. Yeah. So totally. But have you not seen that one, Lucard?
No, I have not actually.
I think you'd like it, especially the paranormal investigation element. I thought that was really, really fun. And also, on my honourable mentions for 2018, I've also got Mandy and Apostle, and I have The Nun, which is a bit controversial. I know it's not the greatest film, but I just think it's got a really great atmosphere that I love it, and it looks great.
I'm on your side, Becky. I cannot believe there's such a film, such a thing as a bad film with a nun in it. There's never been a bad film with a nun in. All right. No.
Even though she's not nude and has no big guns. But.
No. I've not even seen that film. Well, only a few times.
Not this week.
Not this week. Or not today.
It's funny how you can remember that, isn't it? But not remember the wailing.
Oh, man.
And I would also add, and I know it's not really horror, but I really, really, really enjoyed this film because one of my favourite films, as I've mentioned, is Jaws. And I just think it works really well as a double watch with that. And that's The Meg.
Oh, The Meg's great. Yeah.
This is on my list to watch, too. I was hoping to get to it before this show, actually, but that didn't pan out. But I have heard nothing but good things about The Meg.
Yeah, you will love it, I'm sure.
Awesome.
So much fun. And then the last one I have to mention, which again I wasn't sure if I was going to put that as my number one, is Annihilation, which really, really stayed with me. There's just something about that film and the very it's the way it kind of focuses on, I think, mental health in a lot of ways, and looking at yourself and your identity and your actions and stuff. There's so much going on in it, all really encased within this brilliant sci-fi horror. And I thought it really, really resonated with me. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I liked it pretty much. I read the story as well, and it was okay. The film was better, I think, than the story. Though they're much the same. It definitely reminded me of Tarkovsky. It was kind of a bit of Stalker and a bit of Solaris, all going on there with some other stuff. It reminded me a bit of Extro for some reason as well. There were sort of weird, body changing elements to it that was in there. Yeah, I liked Annihilation. Right. Just got to mention, there's one film I am amazed none of us mentioned, because it was one that everyone seems to like, but I watched it and didn't like it, so I did put it on my list. But I honestly thought it was going to be your number one, Becky, which is Hereditary. I didn't like that film much at all. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah, and it was, it was interesting. I think I watched it quite late, and I think the hype really had something to do with that. I haven't seen Midsommar yet, but from what I've read, because again that was so blown up, I kind of know what happens. He's interesting. I think he's a really interesting filmmaker, Ari Aster, but I don't know. I agree with you that there was something that felt like it was missing. Great performances.
Yeah, great performances. The problem is it kept snaking into different what it could be. It was like, okay, is this psychological? Oh, okay, is this a haunting? Oh, okay, is this a possession? Oh, okay, if I go on, I'm going to spoil it, but
not in a creative way. Yeah,
No.
but not in do you know what I mean? Like, so I totally get that.
It felt like rolling the dice and say, what should we do next? Let's roll the dice. And, then we'll go that way then. It didn't. It unreeled a bit in a way. Something like Get Out, right? It started expansive and narrowed in, and brought you with it, which made it a great film. Whereas this was like, well, we're going this way. No, let's turn right here and go that way instead. It was a bit annoying. I found it annoying, actually.
No, totally. And I think also the fact that they completely didn't utilize Gabriel Byrne really annoyed me all the way through. I was like, surely
Gabriel Byrne's a great actor, yeah.
He needs something more. And so that, I don't know, that really affected me. I was like, he needs some, I don't know. He just didn't look, not wooden. I wouldn't say he was wooden, but
it was underplaying it quite a lot, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I don't think it was his fault, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he had to be the grounded person. It felt like he was just at a different pace from everyone else.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It was shocking. There were bits in it that were truly shocking, though. It has to be said.
Oh, yeah, and that's it. And, the acting, like I say, I think was great. And there was some really, nice little scenes and shots. But overall, yeah, I wasn't that blown away.
Yeah, I've been told not to watch it, actually. I mean, I've heard some spoilers for it too, but I don't know. Do you guys still think it's worth even seeing, particularly if you
I think
kind of know?
Seeing.
Really?
I managed to avoid spoilers, so what happened in it came as a complete surprise. So it was spoiler or anything. I just thought, I mean, Toni Collette performance alone is worth seeing because it's so good.
Yeah.
But as a horror
list.
film, it was irritating.
Yeah, I mean it's on Prime, so it's not like it's just it's time. So I have to be so selective with what I watch right now. It's just like there's not enough time.
I just thought I'd raise it because I was amazed no one raised it. So, and it is a fairly important horror film, I think. People were calling it the scariest film ever made. People that don't watch horror films probably said that. I can imagine. But it's not. It's not even the scariest film made this year. No way. Suspiria was way more scary, I'd say. For example, probably Terrified to you, Becky, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely more so than that. And I forgot a film from 2018, and that's Cam, which I highly recommend if you haven't seen that.
Not seen that.
That is Cam. It's like Cam Girl, so it's about sex work, and it's a really interesting watch along with Unfriended. And it's all about that identity and such. And I don't think I'm giving anything away to say that it's about a woman who is a cam girl and she's trying to, develop a career and such. And on the website that she uses, somebody else has logged in as her and is online. But it's like a doppelganger.
Oh, nice.
And it's about her trying to unravel all of that. And that's pretty early on. I'm not giving anything away. But really, really interesting film in terms of that, like, straddling the line. Is it supernatural? Is it not? But also just, I think it's really timely and an important film like Get Out because it's looking at sex work and the discrimination that these women face. And men as well, of course.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to last year, 2019. Does anyone particularly want to go first? Should I go first?
Sure.
You can go first. Yeah, go for it.
Right, up until today, I had one film as my top one, but the more I think about this particular film, I am going to make the my top of the year. The more I like it, the more I want to talk about it. And the one I'm going to say for this year, for me, is The Lighthouse, which is fairly recent. It did release in 2019. It's showing in cinemas in the UK right now, but it is a 2019 film with William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Really terrific film. Really claustrophobic and gets under your skin and makes you think about it over and over when you go back on it. I really liked it. Have either of you seen it?
I've not. No.
I haven't. Nope.
I've seen previews for it, and I like just the trailer. I was like, "Oh man, this looks cool."
Yeah, and it's in black and white. It's framed very unusually. It's almost a box shape, the framing, rather than widescreen, which gives it this sense of claustrophobia. It's guys stuck in a lighthouse, and trying to live together, but it's not quite working, and it slowly unravels. There's one. I don't think I'm giving anything away, but there's one telling moment where William Dafoe says, "How long have we been here? Is it 2 days or 4 weeks?" And that's a serious line, and it works in the film. It's kind of interesting. And in many ways, it's similar to Cold Skin, which is also about 2 guys stuck on a lighthouse. But, that's more horrific. This is a psychodrama. It's in the same vein as Repulsion or Hour of the Wolf, or it's that kind of, it's a mind thing rather than a horror thing, but it's a horror film. I really, really like this. So yeah, I'd recommend it. The other ones I've got, the one I nearly gave for this is It Chapter 2 because I really like that, but not quite as much as 1. I also really like Parasite. Parasite's a very recent one, obviously an Oscar winner now. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Midsummer, I really liked. even though I did like Hereditary, I really liked Midsummer. I thought there was some interesting stuff. It was a little overlong. There were certain elements of it could have been taken out completely. There's this ongoing thing about these guys saying, "No, we're doing sort of anthropological studies," and they're arguing about it. All of that could have gone. Didn't need to be in there. But the rest of it I thought was really solid. Another one I really liked is Ready or Not. Have you guys seen that?
I haven't, but I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, same here.
So good. It's one of my favourite subgenres, which is humans hunting humans. That's not giving anything away. It's in the trailer. The lead actress is so good in that she goes from like scared to desperate to just trying to survive to does not give an F about anything. Right, we're sorting this out. Stuff. I really liked it. The whole transform was really good. And the other one is Nick Cage again. We go back to Nick Cage. So this is the third Nick Cage I've mentioned, I think. Colour Out of Space. Richard Stanley's Colour Out of Space. Again, I think it's getting some cinema now in the UK, but it's been out already. Really liked it. It could have been a little better, but there's some solid stuff in it. And I hear that he wants to do more Lovecraft, possibly with Nick Cage, and I'd be all right with that.
Oh man, make it happen.
A few. I mean, I've got a lot. The thing is, I've got a long list in. I don't really want to tread on anyone's toes. So I'm only going to talk about the ones that I think won't get mentioned, and I might circle back to these if you guys don't mention some of the others. Hellboy. I watched the Hellboy remake, which everyone hated, right? I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. There was one moment I loved right at the beginning, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but I'm going to spoil it anyway. It's not a plot spoiler, though. It's just a moment spoiler. This basically, there's a backstory. They're talking about King Arthur has to go ride out against this witch. Who's Mila Jovovich. And Arthur meets her and she says, "You think you can hurt me? No mortal weapon can kill me." And King Arthur pulls his sword out. And what sword has King Arthur got? He's got Excalibur, right? So that made me laugh a lot. That really made me laugh. And there's some really goofy stuff in it. There's a Scouser goblin all the way through, Becky. You'll like that. And I also really liked the animated Addams Family movie. There were some really nice little moments in it. It was harking back to the Charles Addams cartoons, the original cartoons I really liked. It's funny, I watched it with my daughter. She says, "Why is it so different from the film?" I said, "No, this is based on the source material." When she found that out, and I have some Charles Addams books, and I showed her some of the cartoons, she said, "Oh man, I'm really into this now, because this is going to the well." Right, so yes, we both
That's
enjoyed
awesome.
it quite a lot. So yes, I've got a couple of more I might mention if they're not mentioned by someone else, but we'll come back to that. Becky, 2019, what's your top film?
It has to be Parasite, which was interesting because when I mentioned this film to you a bit ago, you hadn't seen it, and then it went on to win the Oscar, which I was pleasantly surprised about.
Yes, yeah, I'm glad you did mention it. I got to see it before it won the Oscar. I didn't even know it was in contention. So I really
I haven't heard or seen this one at all. I don't know anything about it, honestly.
Yeah, well, it won the Oscar for Best Movie and Best Director, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Did you?
Nice.
It's a class thing, right? It's got a deep allegory element to it about class, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of talk going on about that currently, so it's well timed.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I can't argue with you, Becky. It's a good choice. It's a good choice.
Yeah, it's interesting that you watched it at the same time, or the same day as the Wailing, and obviously they're very different films. And I've heard this one described as a tragicomedy, which I think is a nice word for it. But it hits for me every tone, every note in terms of all the different tones that it juggles, and it's just a really clever, fun film. So I don't want to say too much about it, and it is quite new, obviously, so I don't think that many people have seen it. But
one thing I liked about it is these guys kind of con their way into jobs, but actually they're pretty good at their jobs, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of the built-in implication is if you're given a chance, you can succeed, which I really liked.
Yep. No, it's got some really interesting, little all the different things it explores and that. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and why it unravels is interesting and stuff like that. Have you got any honourable mentions?
I have the other film that I really, really enjoyed is Doctor Sleep. I've spoken at length about how much I love The Shining, and I thought it was a really, really nice complimentary sequel from Mike Flanagan. And I think he really, the film in his hands was quite comfortable, because I think, I don't know, he's really interpreted the original elements quite well, I think, from the book as well, and pulled everything together. But I really liked the way that it changed and broadened the mythology from the first film. So we get this in The Shining. It's very focused, and not a lot of questions are really answered. And within this film, without being too limiting, it brings you into a wider world. And it was just a really nice sequel, I think. And the one thing that I didn't like about it was the way that they recreated some scenes.
Yeah,
I don't think that was really necessary, but
no, I kind of agree with you. It didn't. You couldn't replace certain things from that first. It was interesting. It was a sequel of the Shining movie, as well, right? It was clearly a sequel of the Shining movie. I wasn't expecting that.
No, and in some ways it would be really difficult to, I think, because The Shining is just so, something of its own, the film itself, that I think it kind of had to. But I thought that the way that it brought everything in from the books as well was nice. And, like I say, Mike Flanagan, he can kind of do no wrong at the minute, especially in terms of, adaptations. I think, it's a really, really difficult thing to do. And from The Haunting of Hill House, and I know things have changed and such, but the essence of the films, I think the original text really comes through in his films and TV shows and that.
Yeah, I think this was a good film. This is one of the ones I wasn't sure whether I wanted to mention or not, because I thought it'd come up. Mike Flanagan's really hitting out of the park with some of this stuff. I really like this one too. Have you seen it, Lucard?
I have not, but sounds like I need to.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Have you got any other honourable mentions, Becky?
I haven't seen much from this yet because I've been so busy. The last year, but I've spoken about it before. But just to say that Annabelle Comes Home, even though I've talked about some of the flaws within it, it was a fun watch.
Yeah, fair. Lucard, what's your favourite of this year?
Oh, man, 2019. I'm going to go with one that will maybe be a little controversial. And we've spoken about it a little bit on the show. And I'm going to go with The Joker, because I think there are enough kind of horror elements in it to qualify it as a horror film. Have you guys seen it? And what do you think?
I really liked it. It's certainly a psychodrama in the same way the Lighthouse is, maybe, but the Joker is about one guy. I think it was really well put together. I think that central performance was just amazing, actually. Joaquin Phoenix gave it a hell of a performance. It obviously it was kind of derivative, off of like Taxi Driver and Falling Down and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've heard it compared to Taxi Driver.
Yes,
you're not the only one.
There was, and King of Comedy too. Definitely. But I still liked it in and of itself. And I think there's a lot of younger people that haven't seen those films. But
I've never
sort of resonate with them.
Yeah, not that I'm young, but I've never seen Taxi Driver. So now I'm actually, I've added that to my list of things to see. But just talking with people about this film, it seems like it's had a big impact, and it was made for such little money, really, and it's made just tons and tons of money. But I don't think many people consider it a horror film necessarily. But some of the stuff in it was pretty horrific, I have to say.
Yeah, but there was also kind of quite touching moments too. Even within the horror. Within the horror, it was kind of touching. Yeah, I really like this film. I actually, also it's got elements of falling down too. Angry dude about having a bad day, stuff happening. It in fact inspired me to. I haven't seen Falling Down in years. I've bought the Blu-ray because I really like Falling Down, and I'm now about the age, or probably even a bit older, than Michael Douglas's character in that film. So I kind of feel like that guy at the world sometimes. It's like, just do stuff.
I think everyone has those days, right?
Yeah. So yes, I do like the Joker. Yes, good choice. Yeah. Good choice.
Thank you.
Any honourable mentions?
There was one. What was I going to mention? Zombieland Double Tap, which I just saw here pretty recently. I think we may have mentioned it on the show before. It is good. It's a lot of fun. So if you're just looking for something to kind of sit back and have fun with, definitely check this.
I mean, it's in the same vein as stuff like Scout's Guide to the Apocalypse and obviously Zombieland.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when the guys met their kind of doppelgangers, the equivalents to them in from somewhere else. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, made me laugh.
And the divvy the boyfriend trying to impress the girl by bullshitting to her. That made me laugh a lot. So yeah, it was fun. All right, it's that winds up our decade, I think. Right, we're back. And in this segment, we're going to be talking about what we thought were the worst horror films of 2010 to 2019. Do you mind if I go first, guys? Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm kind of going to do this chronologically, but I don't know the exact chronology, so I could be wrong. First one, 2010, Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which really didn't work at all for me. Should have. It looked good on paper. But no, man, it was just dull and uninteresting. Yeah. There was maybe a couple of sequences was kind of cool where there was one where they're actually chasing Freddy while he's still human. That worked quite well. And there was also a bit where he says something like someone was dying. He says, your brain stays active for 6 minutes, which means I've got time to play. That was kind of dark. But otherwise, it was a crap film. Really didn't like it. Have you guys seen it?
I have. It's not good.
Yeah.
I wanted to like it too because I remember seeing the trailer and everything and thinking, "Oh, this is going to be great." But
should have worked. I was wrong, shouldn't it? Yeah. It's just not well put together.
Jackie Earle Haley's great as well as an actor, so yes. It's a real shame. It's a real shame.
Exactly. It was weird.
Yeah.
My next one is Dracula 3D, which was.
Oh my God! One of the worst films I've ever seen.
And I'm game for a giant praying mantis in a film. Yeah,
yeah.
It's
why not?
like, how can a film be bad if it's got a giant praying mantis? But no, this was terrible, and the Dracula was not very charismatic and so on.
I stan Argento, so
yeah, it's a shame.
And what happened?
I don't know. It's still, there's still merits, and he's just announced a new film as well that he's bringing out with Asia. So that'd be interesting because I don't think he's made one for a couple of years. So
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
The next one is Neon Demon, which I think is 2016. Man, this is Refn. No, I really like most of Refn's films, but man, this was boring and the characters weren't well developed. He was trying to do a David Lynch and it wasn't working. It was, instead of like Lynch hooks you with like inexplicably compulsive stuff, his was just boring and sort of weird and annoying, and disingenuous and cold and dull. Basically, I really didn't like it. Do you get the idea? And the last one, which made me actually angry, really made me angry, was Mother! Which was, Oh man, I can't remember who made it. It's like a famous film. He made the Noah film. I can't remember. Oh man, Jennifer Lawrence is usually really good. Well, she was good. The actor was good. Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a big allegory, and I really wanted to be on board. I really tried. I really, really tried to enjoy this, and it just got me more and more angry. But there was one scene about half an hour from the end where I got absolutely livid because I felt like it was deliberately manipulating you. Excuse me.
I think I know the scene that you're meaning, and yes, I can see that definitely.
It was upsetting and horrible, and like it was like if it had been a book, I would have thrown it in the bin.
Oh wow!
I would have kicked the telly if it had been cheap. It was just so annoying, and really, really didn't need to be that way at all. So I hated that. I hated it. Right, okay. Becky.
Wow. Okay, so following on from Mark's was that mine would have to be Devil from 2010, which we've talked about, the elevator film.
Yeah, who can forget that?
I still want to see it. I don't know why, but I want to see it.
If you can see it for free, maybe.
Yes. And I would also have to add to that Innkeepers, the Terry West film, because
that was
just
dull, wasn't it?
And the ending, like, it just, what ending, you know? Then I'd have to also add the Quiet Ones, the Hammer horror film.
Was that with Chris Lee?
He has an appearance in it, and it's to do with like studies, again like supernatural paranormal stuff. And honestly, it was just one of the worst films I've ever. The highlight of it was I think it was filmed in Oxford, where I was like living at the time, and I was trying to point out places that I knew. It was just honestly, I can't remember it. It was terrible. I just stuck in my mind though that I hated it. One that I do remember, and you kind of just love to hate it, is Hellraiser Revelations.
Ooh, yeah, this was awful.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Poundland Pinhead.
Yeah, that really was a mistake. I didn't mind it, though. I didn't mind it. If it had been Doug Bradley, I would have liked it a lot more, and it would not have been the worst one in the whole set. But... yeah, it wasn't great.
No, it wasn't.
Man, I just could not believe. I was like, it's not even a Hellraiser film.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, just everything about it. But then, I must admit, have you seen Judgment yet, the final film in the series so far?
I don't believe so.
I think I have. Yes, because I didn't know it existed. Then you told me about it. It's like, okay. No, you know what? That's the one I'm thinking of. That one was all right, not so bad, right?
Oh,
Revelation was the worst.
Yes, yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, sorry, I got confused.
I was like, oh, you're being very nice about this film. No, Judgment was all right, I think, and the guy who played the Hell Priest, I can't remember his name, but they went a slightly different route with it, and he wasn't on screen that much, so it kind of worked. Whereas Revelations, just everything about that film, just for me, didn't work. The same with Scream 4, which went above and beyond in terms of the whole meta element, and then the reveal at the end. And I don't know, like, I haven't seen Emma Roberts in that much, but I just don't think she's a good actress. And there's one scene in this, and I was just like, what? I don't know, it just really didn't work for me. Even the dialogue, when somebody gets stabbed and they just say something about fuck Bruce Willis, and it's just...
What's that?
Because you like this one, don't you, Mark?
I'm confused now. Right, Revelations, right, the one we're talking about, was Doug Bradley in it or not?
In Revelations, no, that was somebody Stephen Smith Collins, I believe.
Yeah, okay, so...
I'm talking about Scream 4 now.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, man. Sorry, I was looking at Letterboxd what I said about Hellraiser Revelations, trying to remind myself of it.
Proves he never listens to me.
Okay.
Sorry. Revelations was the first film in which Joe Bradley didn't play the Hell Priest.
Yeah, sorry, I was completely confused because I thought you were talking about a Hellraiser series when you were talking about Scream. I understand it now. Yeah, I've got one comment here I have to just share, which is it's still better than watching Twilight. Okay. Sorry, yeah, Scream 4. You didn't like Scream 4?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, just the way that it tried to rework the genre, I just didn't think worked. And I think the acting in it was terrible. Like Emma Roberts, for everything I've seen her in, I don't know whether it's just I've not seen her in that much, but she just always is so good. And then there's one scene in this film that I was like, this is just terrible. And like the dialogue when they're saying somebody gets stabbed and they say "fuck Bruce Willis" for no reason, and I was like, what? It's not even what.
I don't remember that.
Wow. What in the
I don't know. It just didn't work at all for me on any level. It just felt like a kind of a fan fiction.
Yeah, and the constant resetting of what was going on, or at the beginning was it was fun for a bit, and then it get a bit tiresome. And honestly, I don't think the plot worked at all. Right? I don't think the plot actually worked. It wasn't logically correct in any way, really. But it was diverting for me. Yeah. That's the best I can say about it. I haven't seen 2 or 3 yet, either.
Scream. Oh, well, definitely. I think we should cover maybe 1, 2, 3 would be an interesting show.
Yeah, I mean, those are like really good films.
Yeah.
Oh, there's loads we should cover. I'm really keen to do the Resident Evil before this TV series gets made, for example.
Definitely.
There's all sorts of things to do, right? Yeah. But yeah, I'll be going for Scream. Yeah.
Resident Evil for sure.
Oh, 100%. But coming back to the ones we hate, Mama from 2013 was just a pile of pish.
Yeah, that was terrible.
We don't like films with called Mother or Mama, then, right?
We don't. No.
They're all bad.
They really are. And that I think the biggest thing for me was the CG in it, the reliance on that.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah.
It's one of those films I think I've seen, but I don't remember much about it. Is it Spanish?
No, it isn't Spanish. I think the director might be Spanish, and it was produced by Del Toro.
Yeah.
There's a bit where they're on a cliff's top or something, isn't there?
Yes. And it's Jessica Chastain as like a...
Jessica Chastain. Yes, I've seen it. Yeah.
Punk, is she in it? The short hair and everything. Yeah, I think so. She's like a musician. And she doesn't want children in it, but obviously the film makes her realise that as a woman is a duty to be maternal and have children.
Yeah. It's just, oh man. The writing is so bad. The acting is bad. The CG is terrible. Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chastain was alright though, right? She's...
but again, I don't think she had much to work with. And also the guy who played her partner in it was he's out of Game of Thrones. He's, Cersei's brother? One of the twins? Jamie Lannister,
yeah, he wasn't good. But he's not a good actor.
He played 2 people in it, didn't he, I think?
I can't remember. I think the oldest girl was okay. It wasn't scary at all, though. I do remember that. Not at all.
No.
Yeah.
Really wasn't. And then I'd have to add the Bye Bye Man, and I know you hate that as well, Mark.
Oh, yeah, that is bad. I got a feeling I was very caustic in my review, so let me see if I can find it, just because I like reading my own reviews back. I'm an egomaniac. No, I can't find it. Oh, okay. Maybe hold on. I might have spelled this wrong. Yeah, it was bad. For some reason, I thought it was supposed to be quite good. But, man, it was crap.
It was. And it didn't even work. The mythology, everything just didn't work in it. It was almost like it had been rewritten in some respects. And the design of the Bye Bye Man and that, a bit crap. And
what I've said is they're trying to create mythology a bit like Candyman, but it's got a terrible build-up and execution. But I did like the actual Bye Bye Man. That's what I said.
Oh, see, did you? I thought it just looked like like an adolescent hoodlum.
Yeah, maybe I like that look. I better shut up.
And then my final one, if I'm sure that you both have guessed, is World War Z. I should get a buzzer every time I say that.
Yeah, this is one that was such a disappointment to me as well. So much money was thrown at it, and it just... I think they just thought, if we put enough CG in there and throw enough money at it, it'll be a great zombie film. And we base it on a book, but, you know.
The problem is, one of the problems they had is we're used to really good-looking zombies. Even The Walking Dead, the TV show, does really good-looking zombies, right?
Yeah.
So it just looks bad. It just looked bad at the time. Never mind about now. And it's just poorly conceived. It should have been a TV show with different stories each week. That would have worked way better. Right? It would have worked so much better.
100%. And I would also throw in a special mention here to Cats, which I know isn't horror, but pretty horrific.
Oh man, I've talked about Field of England being disoriented to the senses. Cats was that on cocaine. It was. Honestly, I came out and I had a headache for 2 days after seeing Cats, but I want to watch it again. So it's like drug-like or something.
I'm morbidly curious about that film.
It's just, everything about it's wrong. It's like, you're watching these things and you say, the CG doesn't look right. When they move, it doesn't look right. They seem to change size. Sometimes they're like really tall, and sometimes they're like about 2 foot tall, and it doesn't make sense, and stuff like that. And it goes on. Actually, there's a couple of numbers I quite liked. Near the second half, the first half is a mind trip. Really is. It's so weird. And I'll tell you, the weirdest thing was when Ian McKellen came on doing a cat. It was like watching a terrible drama sort of workshop, because Ian McKellen was going and things like that. But when he had to do his bit on the stage, he was really good because he's Ian McKellen, right? But him not just being part of the other cats was just bad. It was really bad. And Judi Dench was totally miscast. And I could go on about this for another hour, so maybe we better stop. But honestly, I should have put it on my list. And you know what? Because of its disorientating nature, I wouldn't have put it on my worst list. I would have put it on. This is an effect in horror film, because it is. Because it was like some weird Lovecraft, bad blood, genetics gone wrong thing. It was so weird.
That makes me want to watch it when you say that. But
the thing is, I want to see it again now. I'm probably going to buy it, but I hope they don't fix it, because it wouldn't be the same. And there was Ray Winston not singing, right? Trying to sing. Oh man, it was like it was like Tom Waits had been given ketamine. It was terrible. And there was I got to tell you one bit. Rebel Wilson, who I like a lot, right, in all sorts of films. At one point, she's doing a song and dance number, and she takes off her skin, and she's wearing her skin under it. So you're thinking, did she just take off the skin of another cat? So. And it made me start thinking of Silence of the Lambs.
It is a horror movie.
She had her skin on, and she took it off, and underneath she had like a glamorous waistcoat and stuff, a bit like the character from Rocky Horror. What's her name? The name of a state. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. Anyway.
Oh wow! On that note, also I don't think I'm not sure if it qualifies if it came out just after.
I saw it in 2019.
No, I'm not sure if this one that I'm going to mention qualifies if it came out. If it was just after the new year, but Dracula the TV series. And I know you're probably
Dracula. Yeah, it over Christmas, didn't it?
Oh, there you go. Because you haven't seen it yet, have you? Because you're all Draculaed out.
I am. I will. I have got. I'll tell you what. I've got 2 horror kind of things that was done by the BBC at Christmas. The Christmas Carol and Dracula. I've got both to watch yet.
Right. Well, this
Just
one.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
Just watch the first episode of the new Dracula.
Yes. I agree.
Doesn't he try and do Danny Dyer or something?
No, it was an interesting take, and for me, he didn't do anything wrong. Like, he was working really well with the material, and it was a bit of a fresh perspective because at the end of the day, it's a new adaptation, and it needed that. But the second episode added more to a part of the story where we don't really get that much in the book, which I thought was interesting. But it turned it into something completely different, a different genre. And then the third episode just went batshit crazy, didn't it? Like,
yeah, just off the rails.
And even the ending and the explanation for the big twist at the end was just like, what?
This isn't entirely surprising because the BBC did a Dracula adaptation in 2005, which I think I talked about, which was really bad. It was about Dracula Dracula curing sort of a genetic disorder by his vampire blood or something. I don't know. It was rubbish. It was total rubbish.
Yeah, that's a shame because, oh man, it starts out so strong is the thing.
I am going to watch it though. I will watch it. Oh, by the way, the character I was trying to think of from Rocky Horror was Columbia. Rebel Wilson was kind of dressed like Columbia. It looked like it was inspired by Rocky Horror's Columbia to me. Anyway, sorry, that's a diversion. Yeah.
And also to say, if anybody didn't catch it as well, after the Dracula 3-part series, Mark Gatiss also did another one of his documentaries on Dracula and Bram Stoker, which I only was told about. I didn't see it by a friend, and I watched it, and it's brilliant. And it's very much it's obviously in the vein of his horror history. Is it History of Horror?
Yes,
documentary series.
They're terrific documentary.
They are.
Yeah,
they're amazing.
And this is just a one-off, but no, it's brilliant. It's all about Bram Stoker.
I recorded
Dracula.
it and just after watching it.
I gotta find this.
Yes, I think it might be on Netflix actually.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, but it might be. Another series is.
I mean, there's been some good horror TV this decade, isn't there? Too. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Stranger Things is probably the standout, right, for most people. For me personally, Twin Peaks would be there, which is bordering horror, isn't it?
I mean,
and Hannibal as well. I'd have to say.
Yeah, Hannibal.
True Detective.
True Detective.
Yep.
Kingdom. I mentioned already, didn't I?
I mean, Walking Dead is horror royalty at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a shame, kind of where it's gone, but you know.
Yeah. Haunting the Hill House was pretty good.
Yeah.
Series. Castle Rock I quite like. There's
that
more.
was good.
There's a lot more than this, but but and there's been some quite good anthology shows as well.
Yeah,
the new Twilight Zone and the one we talked about, Bobcat Goldthwait. There's a really good one on Netflix called something like Love, Death and Robots. That's really good, really good. It's an anthology series. Some are funny, some are horror, stuff like that. It's really worth seeing.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Love,
cool. Death and Robots. I reviewed it on one of my anthology the whole season. I really liked it.
Oh, and sorry, just to add one more film that I've completely forgotten about, which is Open House, which is the worst film ever made. How did it? Yeah.
Worst film ever made. Not Highlander 2.
Good. Best film ever made.
Please. One film I was kind of toying with putting on a list, but I couldn't remember what year it was made, was The Purge. I quite like that. But I only saw the first one.
Yeah, there are quite a few now, aren't there? I've not seen any.
I think there's 3 or 4, yeah. Okay, Lucard, what out of the 10 that you picked, what is your favourite of the decade?
Oh, man, this is tough because the one that I actually I'm going to pick is one that I had forgotten about, Mark. But now that we've gone through, I don't know if this is legal or not. Now that I realize that I didn't put it on the list, I feel compelled to give it my film of the decade. And that has got to go to The Witch. That film had a crazy effect on me at the time I watched it and really scared the hell out of me. I don't know if it would have the same effect now, but, a couple of years ago, it really did a good job of freaking me out. So I'm going to go with that, even though it wasn't initially on my list.
I've just got to mention the Lighthouse, which I mentioned, is made by the same person.
Oh, man, I've got to watch this.
Yes, I think you might like the Lighthouse. You might find it quite intense, though. Okay, Becky, what's your best of the decade?
I think it has to be Barbarian Sound Studio. It is just a beautiful film with a beautiful performance by Toby Jones.
Again, not one I can argue with, really. It wasn't really my cup of tea, but I can kind of see the talent and how well it was put together. Okay, so mine is Mandy. I think this is a masterpiece. I think there was only 3 or 4 masterpieces made in the decade, out of all films, I mean, not just horror. And Mandy, for me, was one of them. I really, really like Mandy, and I think it stands up. I went and watched some of his earlier work, like Beyond the Black Rainbow. Bit boring. Mandy, though, I just think is perfect, and I find it better each time I watch it. And I've watched it, I think, 4 times now. So
wow, high praise.
Really like it. I got the Blu-ray as soon as it came out, and never looked back, really. So yeah, okay, interesting list. Well, there wasn't much crossover. There's a few times we had the same thing. For example, I think It Chapter 1, and I guess The Witch. Now you said The Witch, but otherwise there. And it's interesting. It's such a wide field, isn't it? We've got all these picks, but you guys said a lot of ones I hadn't seen, and I think I said a few you guys hadn't seen. So that's how big horror is, right? Any thoughts on that, Becky?
Just to say, I would be interested to find out what both of your the films that you're most looking forward to in the next year are.
Do you mean horror or anything?
Well, either if you want, but I was going to say specifically horror.
I think mine probably counts as horror, but it's probably King Kong vs. Godzilla. I'm not sure that's coming out this year, though. It might be next year. But that one is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Nice.
What about you?
I think it'd have to be the new Conjuring film. Really excited for that.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Man, I'm still catching up on so many old films. I don't even feel that I oftentimes keep up enough with what's coming. But gosh, there's always just amazing things being made, and it's definitely wonderful. It's a great time to be a horror movie fan and just a film fan in general.
I always look forward to the Bond, even though they're often a disappointment. I always look forward to a Bond.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one that's surprising me how much I really want to see it, considering I'm really not interested in what this studio have done with some of their other material, is Mulan. Mulan, the trailers make it look really good. And I'm not interested in the Jungle Book remake or Dumbo or any of that stuff. But the Mulan, there's something about that Mulan stuff. It really looks like it might be up there with something like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It's that. It looks like it might be that good to me.
Nice. Yep.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. All right, shall we wind it up there? Whoa, that's been quite a session, hasn't it? Let's say our goodbyes, guys. So bye from me.
Bye from me.
Bye from me.
Ha ha!